We are Team Predict, and we have been working on Challenge 6 Design Performance Investigation. SIS currently have a vast amount of RFI and drawing data, but no tool to understand overall design performance. We have identified 2 user stories, one being for executive directors and the second being for project managers or project teams. The outputs we want to provide at the end of the challenge are a machine learning model and 2 dashboards, one for executive level and one for the project level. Here are the process steps that we have followed during the challenge. Quality data check, checking for data field correlations, identifying potential KPI metrics, building the machine learning model, and data visualizations. Here are some assumptions that we put in place based on the machine learning model. We had to assume that anything that was 50% complete or more was classed as complete, and the project start and end dates were based off the first and last RFI and drawing information. On the right are some tools that we've used during the challenge.
To evaluate the effectiveness of our metrics in determining a project performance level, we developed a feed-forward neural network and then trained it with the stochastic gradient descent algorithm. Our network's inputs were a series of normalized metric values, and each output corresponded to a designated performance level. To prevent large fluctuations in the results, a relatively large number of projects, 20, were assigned as test data, leaving 51 projects to train the network with. Overall, we found the max number of drawing revisions to be the most effective metric, while the number of unresolved medium priority RFIs was the least effective in estimating performance. Our metric accuracies were relatively low, between 23 and 29%, but greater than the 20% of randomly selecting a level, showing its potential if more metrics and further training was available.
We have produced 2 dashboards. The first dashboard shows an executive level of performance based on projects, sectors, and external organisations creating and revising RFIs and drawings. The second dashboard shows a project dashboard and focuses on the timings of when RFIs and drawings are raised during a project's life cycle.
So that concludes the analysis in terms of the data and problem statements and the hack. But we think the real strength of what we've managed to gain through doing this hack is actually the next steps. So the next steps to design greatness. This isn't talking about data nirvana. This is about breaking down the problem statements further and into bite-sized chunks, and then we put an easy, a medium, and a difficult against the questions that are underpinning those problem statements and the data sets. So this should be able to give a good next steps in terms of actually being able to do the easy ones, which should be giving real benefit to organizations. So we're looking at the project manager perspective, which is obviously down at the granular level. Where is the RFI pain on my projects? What type is it? When is it? And then the projects that don't have this pain, what are they doing? What can I learn? What can I teach others? And then obviously having an understanding of what the time and the cost impacts are of the RFIs during different stages. And then lastly, what's the resources? What out of my team are they spending on RFIs and not doing the really kind of value add when they're just chasing information? And as I say, then we've had a look at the data sets and we've ranked those as well. Then at the exec level, and the reason for doing the exec level is you really need to look at the granular level, and then you can move up and start aggregating to an organizational view. And again, they're going to be interested in what's the best and the worst performers in terms of RFI on cost and margins and slippages, because I want to know, because I want to be able to then do the best practice and share it around and make sure there's continual learning. I want to have data-driven conversations about the impacts of RFIs, so that in terms of time and cost, I want to have those with clients and designers and my supply chain to say, actually, if we don't get it right, this is what we're looking at, and these are the drivers of that. So if we take the drivers, how can we then alleviate becoming issues? What do we need to do? And having those at a really early discussion, being able to quantify them, so that the discussion is on what we do, not why are we doing it. And then lastly, again, it's about the internal resources. How can we do it better? How can I minimize the costs? And again, we've ranked those as well. So for the easy ones, probably at a project level, and then moving up in terms of the medium, and then start having to have a look at the exec is what we'd recommend going forward. But there are some quick wins out there, so that's all good.
Looking at the questions, of the KPI metrics you identified, which of those proved to be the most predictive of overall performance based on the data available? And did this meet our expectations? Maximum drawing ratio, according to our machine learning, looked at maximum number of revisions per drawing, and it proved to be the most predictive of the overall performance. How does your dashboard provide an executive user clear information on the overall design performance across a portfolio of projects, as well as performance of individual design partners? The dashboard created shows the design performance from a variety of angles, including the top performance in terms of individual projects. However, because of the data limitations that we had, our insights were somewhat limited into the design performance, and this was further discussed in the potential developments to understand how this could be improved going further. What are the key pieces of information a project manager needs to see to anticipate and mitigate any design-related risks to any project? So based on the data that we had for this challenge, we would suggest the project managers to have a full understanding on the impact of when RFIs and drawings are raised during any project lifecycle, and whether there are any control measures in place around revisions.